Welcome to episode 26 of Big Game Talk. I'm Brad, that's Chris over there, and 4 weeks into the NFL season, and it's already going down in flames by the looks of it. So,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the NFL is running into some trouble coming into week 4 with the coronavirus, and the whole world. I mean, is running into some more coronavirus trouble,
yeah.
where everything's talking about locking down again, and NFL is no exception. And there's some merit to it because of the people that have gotten coronavirus in the NFL
Yeah,
this
would
week.
you want to just run with some stats real quick?
Yeah,
Just
let's
today's stats. We're recording this as
pull up
of
the stat pad.
this is what the fourth Sunday, the fourth that we're recording this. So
Yeah,
whenever you're listening, so Tennessee Titans are at 20 cases, 18 positive since Tuesday. The Patriots had one positive case, quarterback Cam Newton, and the Kansas City Chiefs have one positive case, practice squad quarterback Jordan Ta'amu. So that's where we're at, where the Titans have now postponed their game because of all these cases, and the Patriots and Chiefs, after both having only one positive case, are set to play tomorrow or today, as in because we're going to be releasing this on Monday.
yeah, it's nuts. Does my question is, does Cam Newton really have coronavirus? Because I mean, the odds of your quarterback, the guy central to your organization, catching it and then going on like nobody else gets sick. Like in practice, he's the one throwing the ball to everybody. You know,
My
it,
my thing is too is like the Patriots today, the Sundays when we're recording this, they're flying out to Kansas City. They have two team planes because they're the only team in the league that has two team owned planes. They're flying one out with all the people that weren't in close contact with Cam Newton. They're flying one out with all the people that were in close contact. So there was around 20 or so people in close contact with Cam Newton that have all tested negative multiple times over the course of this weekend, but
yeah,
they still have them in their own plane. So while that's smart, you're also looking at the situation. It's proven with Tennessee that we're not going to pretend to be coronavirus experts. YouTube's going to flag this with the link below for all the coronavirus facts. Check that
yeah,
out.
yeah,
But Tennessee, over the course of the week, there would just be more positives after they've already separated.
mm-hmm.
So history has shown that even though they're testing negative right now, they're likely going to test positive in the future. So it makes no sense to play this game on Monday.
No, I'm shocked that they're playing this game. It's a last ditch effort to save things. I think, like, just to keep everything together. And just like the odds, as I said, the odds of Cam Newton having it and no one else getting it. It just seems banana land to me. Like it just seems
Even
nuts.
even for
This,
Kansas City too, you look at Jordan Ta'amu, who's their practice squad QB, who likely for this whole week has been pretty much being mock Cam Newton for the Kansas City Chiefs practice squad
yeah,
in order for them to game plan. So he's going to be handling the ball a lot. So you tell me that nobody's been around him and nobody else has it either.
yeah,
I think this is going to be, I think, kind of, if the NFL by playing these games and rolling on, quite honestly, with the full slate of games this weekend,
yeah,
showing that it's not going to be a full season
yeah,
because they aren't, like, they need to be proactive with this.
yeah,
They need to, I think if they would have said, we're shut down this week, we're shut down the week after, we're taking a 2 week break, hell, 14 game season now. We're
yeah,
giving you football. We're just making sure that we can do this by forcing it in, because I understand it's so much harder to make up games in the NFL
yeah.
because you have to eliminate their bye week, or like I don't know
Yeah,
how else you do it.
MLB was in a good spot because they could do double headers.
Like,
That's the nice, and they made them 7 games because there were so many of them, and it worked really well. But for football, I mean, if you're the Steelers or you're the Tennessee Titans, like you've lost your bye week at a critical time. You don't need a bye week right now in week 4. You're still hyped and ready to go for the first half of the season. Now
especially with
you
no preseason too.
yeah, with no preseason, your body's arrested and everything. You don't need this. Now you're sitting on your ass for a week, and then you knowing that when you really need it the most, you're not going to get a bye week. So it's such a shame. There's different ways you can, once again, like as you said, like take the next couple weeks off, give everyone off, and then get back to it. Have a shortened season. Let it get it out of the player systems. Whoever has it right now, but I mean that's still. I mean, you shut it down for 2 weeks now. What happens when in 6 weeks when this happens again? Do you shut it down for 2 weeks again? Like again?
Well, and
It's
my thing is too is you're looking at one, the player safety of making sure they don't get coronavirus. Two, you're looking at a team like Tennessee Titans now. They're gonna have 20 guys that have tested positive. This is a respiratory illness.
Mm-hmm.
If for having them sending them back on the field as soon as they don't have it, will there not be any lingering effects in a very stamina fueled sport for their ability to play?
See, and this is where we need the coronavirus experts, which none of us are.
Yeah,
So
check the link down below, probably in the YouTube,
yeah,
because we're gonna be
probably because
flagged.
we'll put coronavirus in the tags, and then YouTube will be like the nerds they are, they'll be running to fact check us. So yeah, I wonder what the lasting effects, especially in high stamina sport, and we're already seeing like the players are not, coronavirus aside, the players are not healthy right now, given all these
No.
injuries, man. Like that's another thing. You don't have a preseason and nobody can ease into it, and it just, I think people are getting hurt. MetLife Stadium is awful. You have two teams playing there, so like a game a week pretty much happening there, and the turf's not right, so everybody's getting hurt. It's a mess. It's a
Yeah, even
chaotic
today there
mess.
was a bunch more injuries too, like
Yeah.
Nick Chubb, Austin Eckler, a few others. Like it's just it's like I'm happy football's back, but at the same time, it hasn't went well for them. And what they're doing right now, it just shows that it's not going to be here to last. I would be at this point with how they're handling and how the cases are spiking up.
Hmm.
I'd be very shocked if the season doesn't have a full stoppage.
Hmm. Well, and I mean that's just the nature. Like I remember when before sports shut down, we were doing the podcast and we were talking about Italy shutting down soccer, and we were speculating. Really, like at least on my part, I was joking about sports shutting down here. I had no idea what we were about to get hit with, and then sports shut down a week later. Like this stuff happens so fast,
Yeah,
right? This stuff happens, and one day it's something and another day it's something totally different, and I
yeah,
feel like weird sense of deja vu, especially this week, given that we're now in a second wave. I mean, Ontario is talking about going back to, if anybody's in Ontario, you know, the stage 1, 2, 3, 4, where they gradually open things up. Now we're talking about, we went back to stage 3. Now in parts of the province, they're talking about going all the way back to stage 1. So like it, it's all around the world. We're kind of feeling like the same deja vu of things ready to shut down, and I think NFL is kind of the sports is almost the canary in the coal mine for this stuff, because it's an industry that people are so focused on. Um, like everybody's watching, and sports, like sports kind of, once sports kind of went, people realized, oh, this is actually pretty serious. You know,
yeah,
and I feel like the same thing is happening again, and the NFL is the one that's suffering. And I mean, it's so hard when you're taking these personnels. Like I think the closest sport to compare to football in terms of returning from coronavirus is baseball. But the problem with that is baseball, you were flying not across the country, you were flying within your division. So you're staying in a very small, like one third of the country.
yeah,
NFL, they're traveling across. You have East Coast teams playing West Coast teams every week, so people are
yeah,
flying across the country. You have more than twice the amount of personnel than you do in the NFL, so it's just another logistical problem. And there's no way to do a bubble. There is no way to do it where everybody, like, you can't hold an NFL season at Disney World. That's the unfortunate thing, that I mean, like
yeah,
these times kind of loan themselves to sports like the UFC, which is, I mean, small amount of personnel, and it's one off. So you don't have to have the same guys making sure they're staying healthy the whole way through. It's one group at a time. You got the NBA and the NHL, which, I mean, arena sports, you can do it all in one arena, really,
yeah.
especially playoffs. They were lucky they got to their pretty much
Es-
around the
Especially
playoffs.
especially sport like the NBA where the courts are a lot easier to come by.
Yeah,
Like the
courts are,
NHL, they had a little bit more logistics because I
yeah,
mean you gotta have the full ice pad,
yeah, it's true.
but they were lucky where you had Edmonton and Toronto being
Yeah.
the host cities for it. Also, while we're talking about NHL, congratulations to the Tampa Bay Lightning,
Yeah.
Stanley Cup champions. If you don't feel great for Steven Stamkos, you have no heart or soul. Like
Mhm.
I mean, you got to feel for the guy that he only got really 2 minutes of ice time in the playoffs because of injuries. But I mean, he scored a goal. he absolutely was over the moon. And when he with the cup, and I mean just the injury problems that he's been through, just it's so nice to see him win that cup.
Yeah.
But keep going about
Tampa Bay.
football.
Well, one note about Tampa Bay, right?
Mhm.
I was thinking I have a theory, and it's starting like it was a snowball, and now with the Lightning victory, it's starting to roll down the hill and get bigger, and we'll see how big it gets. But my idea is let's go back to when all sports were shut down. The first sporting event back was WWE WrestleMania. Vince McMahon brought it back, and to bring it
That's if you can. That's if you consider WWE a sport too.
we for this example we considering it a sport, at that time we took what we could get. Okay, that was the
Yeah,
closest thing to sports, and it was big because to in order to make it happen, Vince McMahon got the government of Florida to make sports
yeah,
an essential business, and that was the only way it could happen. And that led to, I mean, UFC was very recently shortly after held
yeah.
in Jacksonville, right?
Yep.
So that got the ball. So Vince McMahon, first of all credit to Vince McMahon for this, right? But also Florida, because they brought it back, the sports gods up in the sky were like, we are going to bless Florida sports this year, right? So Tom Brady goes to the Buccaneers with
Yep.
Rob Gronkowski. The Lightning win the cup. The
Tampa Bay,
Marlins,
the
Tampa Bay
Marlins win
Ray,
the Tampa Bay Rays and the Miami Marlins sweep their first round series.
yeah, and I mean the Rays are not the favorites, but they were in the conversation to win the World Series.
So the
So
one seed in the AL.
yeah, so it's looking like Tampa Bay and the rest of Florida has been blessed by the sports gods for their contribution.
And they're not doing too well right now, but the Miami Heat are in the NBA Finals
And the
too.
NBA finals, so it's crazy, this stuff, like all this sports stuff, that's going on. The sports gods, if you don't believe in sports gods, I mean, look at this, man. Look at the way they're blessing
Yeah,
Tampa Bay and Florida sports right now for bringing it back. If
yeah.
where would we be if Florida wasn't the one to say we're gonna make something happen on the sports side?
I agree. Speaking of MLB too, we didn't put this on the list before the show, but at the end we definitely got to do our predictions for the divisional series coming up.
Mhm.
So, but for you right now, give me your prediction. How much longer does the NFL last before either A, there's a shutdown, or honestly, option B, do you think that there is a shutdown at all, or that they right the ship and keep it going?
I think 2 weeks, we'll know if we're going to have finish the NFL season. If they can get through these 2 weeks, they're fine. Like they
Mhm.
can, because the closer you get to the end, the more you justify we've already played this far, let's push through. And I
Yeah,
think if the NFL can really step up and surprise people,
yeah.
but if another team goes down and people are saying, well, these guys are flying across the country, we're in a second wave. It's hard enough to keep kids in school now. There's talks about schools shutting down. Why should my kid, like, why should these guys flying across the country put people they
Mhm.
happen to come in contact with at risk? I think there's going to be a media bloodbath if there's another team that goes down because of coronavirus. I think they got really lucky that the Chiefs and the Patriots only have one case each. Now, if there's one more case, like if we find
But
out,
you say they're lucky, but the thing is though, history has shown that likely they aren't lucky, and likely there's some more cases
yeah.
that are going
So
to pop up
so
either
he,
like tomorrow or today, wherever you want to say, when Monday when this drops or after the game. There's going to be more cases.
Yeah, so yeah, what happens if we say, okay, there's only two people on both teams that have coronavirus, they've been taken out of the equation, everybody's been tested, everybody's fine, we're good to go. They play a game on Monday night, and on Wednesday we're hearing about 5 to 10 cases. It's done. It's done because the NFL, you like, that's just the egg on the face right there. That is like such an embarrassment for the league, to have let that game happen, and
Hmm.
then the consequences. Like, I think that's really the telling thing. That is the hill they're gonna die on, is that Monday night game between the Chiefs and the Patriots. That's the hill. And if
I
they can
agree.
win that victory and they can come out of that week with no more cases, which I can't fathom how that's possible with with
Yeah,
with
I like
two
like again.
quarterbacks,
I
with
like I'm
two
not gonna try.
quarterbacks.
Yeah, like we're not experts on this, but it just doesn't make any logical sense. And for
Yeah.
me too, if you say like you say come out and there's 5, 10 more cases, which honestly would be a good case, like good
Yeah.
scenario for them. But you're looking at one probably legal liability for the
Mhm.
players. If you
Yeah.
and then so if you're the NFLPA, this is a perfect opportunity. And two, you're gonna have a lot more players opt out. Like
Yeah.
there was already a lot of opt outs for the season. You're gonna have a
Yeah.
lot more now. Because
Yeah.
if you're like if you're on the Patriots, you got young kids. You're going, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Especially if you're on a team right now that's been like for example the Giants. They're
Yeah.
playing right now as we're recording this. I assume they're gonna lose and be
No,
0
they
4.
they already lost.
They already lost.
They
Okay,
already
oh they're 0
lost.
4. If you're
Yeah,
in
they're
the 0
on
4
4.
Giants, you got young kids at home. Opt out. There's
Yeah.
no reason to keep playing.
Yeah,
You're playing on a stadium, so
yeah.
swear my bad. Bleep it out for the kids. But we'll fix that in post recording. But you're likely going to tear your ACL because MetLife is horrible. You
Mhm.
need like you're on a horrible team, and you might get coronavirus.
Yeah.
Why are you still playing?
It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Like as a Giants fan that wants to see the best team as possible on the field, it's not worth it.
Yeah,
And I mean, like at this point, I just feel like play for the draft. Like we're back in the situation. Every year, it's like the first 3 weeks I want to win, and then the next 4 weeks, like if they win, I'm happy. But if not, we're doing it for the draft. And
Here's the thing though. Like the thing was because it's gonna be the Jets or the Giants with the number 1 overall pick. The way
mhm.
things are going,
Yeah.
which I hope as a Patriots fan and your friend, I hope it's the Giants for sure. But the thing, because I saw there was a reporter out there. I forget who it was. It was somebody on TV. They said if the Jets get the number 1 overall pick, Trevor Lawrence should go back to school. And I can't argue with that. I can't argue with that
Man.
at all.
Yeah, I mean Trevor Lawrence, he's quite the player. I mean, that's one of the biggest draft prospects that have come through in a long time.
Yeah.
Everybody wants him, and I'm not surprised. Like, I mean, you look at a team like the Broncos, who I mean they won but the other day, but like they're looking for it. Like, there's a lot of teams that are at
Yeah.
this point, everybody's hurt, everybody's injured.
Yeah.
Season might get shut down. This is just a chaotic mess. Let's just hope for Lawrence. We
Yeah.
get him out of this. So
And there's another young QB, Trey Lance, who not a lot
mhm.
of stuff about him because he plays for a bit of a smaller school. We should kind of cover a bit about him in a later podcast. He's a stud too.
Mhm.
So there's a really good 1-2 option coming up in this draft. Actually, I wonder if Justin Fields comes out of this draft too. It might be 3. So there's a lot of young QBs coming out. So
Mhm.
some hope for some franchises for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a lot of franchises like the Giants, that crumpled hat over there that's
Well, the
just sitting
thing,
there pathetic.
is though, like, did you trade Daniel Jones then?
Yeah. I'm like at
Did you
this
get
point,
anything for Daniel Jones?
I see at this point I'm just kind of I like the guy personally. I like the guy, but just he hasn't like shown like he doesn't seem to be learning from his mistakes. Like, and
Yeah.
he's still young. It's still early in the career. I don't want to write him off,
Mhm.
but just he's a liability with how many times he drops the ball. Like he just can't keep his hands on the football, and just games are won and lost in the turnovers, and that's just his curse. And it's just never like he's never seemed to get over that. And it's still early in his very early in his career, and he has time, and you should give him the grace to. But still, it's just so frustrating that I would easily be over him in a heartbeat if we got Lawrence.
Well,
That's
yeah,
just the
you
reality.
can't like. There's not many QBs in the league that wouldn't be dropped for Lawrence. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
so it's and yeah, that's nothing against Jones personally. I like the guy, but um, it's just like there's no spark.
Yeah, I
But
feel that.
but yeah,
So yeah, I mean MMA this weekend too. We
yeah,
talked about it last week. We were kind of a little bit light on the UFC
hmm
card. We'll get into that a little bit. But Bellator, you unfortunately had to miss the prelims because of work. I was able to watch most of the prelims and then the
hmm
main card. Very short main card, only a 3-fight main card, but
yeah,
it delivered. Now, do you want to start with the results or get into the presentation of it? Start with
Let's
the
start
results.
with the results, and then we'll end on
Start from the
the
top.
yeah.
So we had James Gallagher defeat Cal Eleanor by submission in round one. And this James Gallagher guy, if you're unfamiliar with him, he fights out of Straight Blast Gym Ireland, so
Hmm.
SBG Ireland, which if you're unfamiliar with that, Coach John Kavanagh and their star pupil Conor McGregor fight out of
Hmm.
that gym. So James Gallagher, eye test looks like Mini McGregor.
Yeah.
In the cage, absolutely completely different than Conor McGregor,
Yeah.
where he put on a show against Cal Eleanor.
Hmm.
Now, people are going to say that Cal Eleanor is a can. I disagree. The guy's fought some pretty good guys in the past, got a good ground game. But you're looking at James Gallagher, 23 years old. This is
Hmm.
his third main event for Bellator. He got the body lock in so early in that fight. Just
Hmm.
never let it go. Just search for the rear naked choke. I think this
Hmm.
is his fourth or fifth rear naked choke finish in under the Bellator banner. The kid's a stud. He's
Yeah.
got one blemish, the Ricky Bandejas fight where he got
Hmm.
knocked out, which we talked about this before the fight, where sometimes that one loss, or especially early in your career, takes the pressure of the zero, where every fight you're undefeated, takes that pressure away, and gives them a learning experience early in their career,
Hmm.
and likely he's going to be better for it.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, I think a big thing, a big hurdle that Gallagher had to get over was the Conor McGregor thing. Because I mean, you're a young fighter growing up, you're training under Kavanaugh, you're interacting with Conor McGregor a lot. You have the talent to inspire the confidence to really trash talk. So you're drawn at like very young age to Conor McGregor. He's almost like this aspirational thing. Like who doesn't like or who hasn't aspired to be like Conor McGregor at one point? This guy has the talent to do so. So the temptation becomes to just mimic and be another Conor McGregor, be
And
the
early in
mini.
his career, he did the talking very much was Conor
Yeah,
McGregor esque.
and he's very much, and I think the loss really kind of grounded him and reminded him that okay, I'm not Conor McGregor. I'm gonna lose, even though Conor McGregor does lose. But the idea of Conor McGregor, that's in your head. You kind of it humbles that,
Yeah,
and it forced him, I think, to be a little bit, find himself a little bit, to be to say that find himself, look inside himself, be himself.
yeah,
And that's like what we were seeing in the interviews leading up to this fight yesterday. It really felt like he was comfortable in his own skin. He wasn't trying to be anything, especially in that post-fight interview. He was just very natural and very candid,
yeah,
and I really liked to see that. It was exciting to see that, because I mean, how rare is it to have an MMA fighter who can talk? As much as fight talking is important to the fight game, it
yeah.
really is neglected by a lot of fighters, and a lot of fighters just don't know how to be on camera. They don't know how to act with a microphone in their face.
hmm And
So
it'll become too forced,
it
too
comes forced,
awkward.
too awkward.
And for a 23-year-old who's been very natural with this for a lengthy part of his career already, and
Yeah,
he's only getting better on the mic. It's really it's important because it's
yeah.
just as important as the fight.
Yeah, so he's like very exciting to watch. And I mean, the idea of like a guy that can that's like Conor McGregor. I don't want to describe. I want to be very cautious about describing him with Conor McGregor, but somebody that can talk the
Hmm.
talk, and just have the jujitsu rather than the striking is
Yep.
just interesting. That is such an interesting thing. Like a guy that walks and talks like he does, and then just grapple uh beep you.
Yeah, yeah.
um
The kid-friendly show
yeah.
isn't doing well for us so far.
No, that's interesting. It's really cool, and I mean the fact that he held. I think he had that body lock for 4 minutes.
Yeah,
4 minutes. That was
his
like he's,
thighs must have just been screaming by the end of
but he
it.
but he just kept going. And just it looked like a python sizing up its prey, wrapping it, and just choking it out. Like it was like an animalistic watching that fight. Just how precise, and how just Gallagher really not really is in his element, is in his natural environment when he's grappling with
Yeah.
another fighter.
And I think the call out too that anybody in the bantamweight division and talking about the title, I think that was perfect because specifically angling for the title shot,
Yeah.
I think it's way too early. Juan
Yeah.
Archuleta is an absolute stud. I'm not saying that down the road
Hmm.
Gallagher can't beat him, but it's like if that fight happens in 2020, Archuleta starches him.
Yeah.
It's just way too early for Gallagher.
Yeah. And if you're
So
Bellator, you want Gallagher fighting a lot, and that doesn't happen with a guy with belts around his waist.
exactly. Yeah, and you need to keep building him up. He needs to keep getting that experience. And
Hmm.
Bellator is the perfect promotion for this because they won't throw him in the deep end right away. They'll do the slow build,
Hmm.
which is the what should happen in this
Yeah.
case. Just keep upping his level of competition
Yeah.
and letting him pick up some wins here.
Yeah, and the theater of it all, like seeing this guy just not only to say, okay, I'm the golden boy that was given the silver spoon right away.
Hmm.
I was the guy that went through every single guy in this weight class.
Yeah,
I went through every single guy in this division, and now I got to the top. Like, I want to take everybody out. I don't want to just take the top guy out. I want to take up every single person along the way. And I think that's the mentality that he has. Like, I think there's a great amount of patience
hmm,
for Gallagher, because I mean it's easy to imagine a guy that young and that good and that popular with the media and with the fans to really start asking the world around now. And you see this in the UFC, where just a bunch of guys that are not title holders that are asking the world,
yeah.
right? And to see him say, like, it was so refreshing to see him say, I will fight anybody. Like, no, I'm not going to call it anybody specific. I'm not going to call up anybody out of my league right now.
Yeah.
Um, I'm just going to say, like, Scott, put anybody in, and I'll beat them.
And
That was.
especially that's important right now too with you at Bellator,
Mhm.
where they probably don't have the means as well as the UFC to do these extravagant fights like
Mhm.
in Fight Island, where he's got to keep fighting on these European cards because being out at Ireland, he's not getting to the States right now.
Yeah.
So if you call out Juan Archuleta, even if they go, okay, let's do that fight, it's not happening
How?
for a
Yeah.
long time. Yeah.
So to see, like, Gallagher understand all that and be an organization guy, like, he seems like an organization guy right now. And you think about, and again, I don't want to compare him to Conor McGregor, but think about situationally what McGregor did for the UFC. I think in the back of Gallagher's mind, he wants to do that for Bellator. We can rise together almost. We can make this bigger than it once was. Both of us, both my name, James Gallagher, and you, Bellator, we can just make this huge. And part of doing that is fighting often and fighting well. And whenever the event, just like, no matter where, anytime, any place, any person, I will fight them. It's like, um it felt like Cowboy Cerrone, like his work ethic, so
Yeah.
that's huge in your stars. And that's a breath of fresh air from a lot of guys in the UFC
Yeah.
that put themselves before the organization. I'm not saying you give up everything for the organization. You're not slaves to the organization, but at the same time, whatever's good for the goose is good for the gander. So, and Gallagher seems to understand this at a very young age. It's exciting to see.
And in Bellator too, as he did mention, he'll fight anyone anywhere for a big pile of cash.
For a big
And
pile of cash, and
and Bellator for everything that we've seen so far, they must be backing up the Brinks truck for this kid because he keeps coming out and fighting.
yeah,
And if you're Bellator, you do it too
yeah,
because he's a big name.
yeah,
People are going to keep drawing the comparisons to McGregor. And as much as Gallagher probably hates it, Bellator probably loves it because it draws eyes on the sport.
yeah,
Because you had like the card yesterday was Bellator Euro Series 9. That's what they called it.
yeah,
And it was broadcast on YouTube. That's not exactly like no offense, but that's not exactly going to draw big numbers when
hmm,
you're on YouTube and you're called Euro Series 9 when they already have their chronological number. And I
yeah.
bet you it did. I don't know the exact numbers, but Gallagher being on that card would have done numbers.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And it's just exciting to see, another
Hmm.
another young guy who just, like, and I think an interesting thing he said after the fight was, he said to Cal Elnor, "I am smarter than you." Like, I am smarter than you. And that was such a,
Because what
like,
was the quote before the fight? He said that he could have been Cal Elnor's coach because the distance between their
Yeah.
skills was that much.
Yeah, and while he was saying I'm smarter than you, they were showing the replay, of him like grappling and getting that like full body hold and that rear naked choke, and you can just see the moves, the subtlety of Gallagher's motions, the subtlety, and Eleanor just looked confused, like he didn't know what to do, and
Mhm.
and that was such a perfect thing, like that was a perfectly timed roast. I'm smarter than you. It's such a beautiful moment, and it's so unique, and it's so cutting. Like it's just and in sport that is often seen for only its brawn and not its brains, when really there's a lot more to do with brains, when especially when you get down to the grappling level and striking too, with the combinations. Like it's
It's an
such a
art.
mental, it's an art form, it's a mental sport, and to see a guy acknowledge that
Mhm.
in a proud way was great television. Like every second this guy's on, like whether he's fighting or he's talking, it's great television.
Yeah.
It's entertaining. You know.
I'm excited for this kid. I
Hmm.
really am, and especially how young he is. He's got a long, great career ahead of him.
Hmm.
I'm real excited for it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And then we had in the co-main event there another SBG Ireland guy, Charlie Ward, fan favorite, especially from the Ireland guys. He beat Andy Manzolo by decision. The co-main event, good fight.
Hmm.
Not taking anything away from the guys. Charlie Ward's reputation before this fight, kind of as people were expecting a little bit more of a slugfest here. It was
Hmm.
kind of more of a there was a lot more grappling and everything. But at the end of the day, Charlie Ward did what he needed to do to win this fight. There
Yeah.
was it was I think it was 30-27, then 2 29-28 for the score.
Hmm.
I have zero problem with that.
Yeah.
I agreed.
Yeah. It was like you kind of got a sense of where things were going very early on, and it just followed. With
Yeah,
that
it
fight.
was for there's a very Bellator fight where you can
Hmm.
have you kind of pandering with the crowd, well, no crowd, but you're pandering to your fans with another SBG Ireland fan favorite.
Hmm.
Sometimes it goes your way with a slugfest, sometimes it doesn't, but people are still happy.
Yeah.
Thought it worked out good.
Yep.
The first fight on the main card, which is so weird to have a 3 fight main card. I kind of
Yeah.
love it, to be quite
I loved
honest.
it. It was like a little hors d'oeuvre before UFC. It was a little snack.
Yeah.
It was just perfect. Like I got home from work, I had an hour and a half before between getting home from work and eating dinner, and
Hmm.
it just magically filled that space, and it led right into a night of UFC. It
See, for
was
me,
perfect
though,
timing.
you say that too. For me, I started watching the prelims for Bellator at 1 o'clock.
Hmm.
Watched which for essentially a 4 hour prelim, and then you got 3 fight main card. It was so weird, but I watched all that. By the time I was done with Bellator, I was like, looked at the UFC fight card. I was like, what? It starts main card starts at 10:30. It's pretty bad. I've had my fair share of fights today. I don't need UFC. I'm happy, and
Yeah.
I did a couple other things and just went to bed.
Yeah.
But I chose good night's sleep over UFC because Bellator filled it.
No, and that's before we get into the Larry Crosby fight. You know, thinking about the different creative ways to, you know, like showcase a fight night or a card. There's different times we can mess around with this. This model of main card starts at 10 o'clock. That is not fixed. For a long time, we thought this was fixed in place, and this has to be done this way. And now I think both the UFC and Bellator are getting a little bit creative with when they show their fight, and a lot of it is based off of being in Europe and all that, and
Well, you
different
look at
time zones.
Yeah, because you look at the UFC, they pander to the West Coast because
Hmm.
the 10 o'clock main card start here is 7 there,
Yeah,
so that's perfect timing for them.
yeah,
But when the UFC travels, very few times do they go based off the time zone that they're in. It'll start Fight Island's gonna have fights starting at 6 o'clock in the morning there, just so it
hmm,
can be 10 p.m. here. Where
yeah,
Bellator almost every single time will say we don't care what time it starts in North America. We're going based off the time zone there.
yeah,
I think that's representative too of the UFC knows their market. The
yeah,
UFC is North America, and we're watching it at that specific time. Where Bellator, they need the European fans. UFC
yeah,
could really do without. They
hmm,
and they're good enough that they're going to get them regardless.
yeah,
Bellator needs those fans, so they got to do it at the right times.
yeah, and
So
and what it creates is just unique moments, like how special it is to be able to watch fights in the afternoon. Like
Yeah.
it's just kind of a nice little treat. It's a change of pace. You know,
Mhm.
it's something different. And for somebody like you that is an old man who goes to bed at 4:30 in the afternoon, you know, it's perfect. You know, it's perfect. You
What?
don't have to miss anything.
Well, no, I didn't. I mean, did you? The only reason, if you're not trying to stay up late, a 10:30 p.m. main card start that has Holly Holm, Irene Aldana. No offense to either of those fighters, but that as the main event, I'm not like. There's no reason for me to stay up for this.
Hmm.
It's a pretty bad card. I mean, we'll get to kind of the results of that later.
Hmm.
But just real quick, to the start of the main card, Kiefer Crosby versus Charlie Leary in a 160-pound contract weight feature fight, which, in all fairness, I don't know why they didn't do this at lightweight. They both weighed in at 159 pounds. Get in the sauna for an hour and cut those extra 3 pounds. Like, come on, guys. It was a good fight. Hell of a
Yeah.
first round. Probably would have been. Bellator doesn't do fight at nights, but would have been fight at night
Yeah.
had the doctors not stopped it for God knows what reason.
Yeah.
Italy, you got some pretty soft doctors there.
Yeah, I didn't get that. I mean, you could have. There was a better argument to be made that the referee could have stopped the fight. You know, when Crosby was on his back with a minute left and he was just getting pounded. You know,
Yeah,
that was when you stop the fight. If you're gonna stop it, and I'm not saying you should have stopped the bear. I'm just saying if you were going to stop that fight after one round, that
yeah.
is where you do it. You don't wait for the referee to come look at his eye. Like, and I was so getting frustrated with the broadcast because they didn't, like, I was trying to look and see what was going on with his, I think it was his right or left eye, I can't remember, but
No, to be honest with you, I don't know. Both
I
eyes,
couldn't
like they
tell
were
both.
beat up, but
Yeah,
they looked pretty fine.
they looked pretty fine. So I don't know what that doctor was seeing, you know, and you know, Leary, you got to give him credit. You know, went immediately right up to Crosby and said, "We're doing this again." Like he was with him, and if you're Leary, you're kind of like, yeah, you got the win, but that's not how you wanted to. That's how nobody wants to win. You
No,
know, they
and
no.
this was a tough one because Crosby's kind of, I'm not gonna say he's a star, but he's bigger name in
Yeah.
Bellator, and he was calling out Miles Jury before, wanting to go to LA to fight him. So it's a big fight for
Hmm.
Crosby, and he's a bigger name where Leary really was placed in front of him to be beat. So
Yeah.
it's a shock for this. So Leary's, so if you're Crosby, you gotta respect the hell out of Leary for saying, let's do this again. But there's also that frustration where it's like, I don't want to fight you again. I
Yeah.
wanted to be moving up and on to bigger and
Yeah,
better
this
things.
is this was the detour, and it turned into a bigger detour now,
Yes,
a very big detour, um, which is a shame. Yeah, because he was on the up, and I mean, to have like you could see it in his face, just being like the energy just leave him as he's just defeat. Like he just finds out the last person you want to tell, like you want telling you that you lost a fight was a doctor. You know,
yeah,
that is just like especially in a situation where you wanted bigger and brighter fights and you ended up with this guy, and now he catches you like by surprise, gets a good streak in of and he just won. It was probably one lucky hit that knocked the eye in a way that the doctor didn't like it, you know. So just so many variables there, so unlucky, you know,
yeah.
and just a shame, a big shame. And I think you have to roll this fight back. You have to, like, that
You got
these
her.
guys can't fight anybody else other than each other coming up next.
Yep, I agree.
Hmm.
And then the prelims, we don't need to get into the details about that, but the prelims overall, pretty solid. Was a good watch for, I mean, no real names on it, which is for not to be unexpected for Bellator prelims, but was very enjoyable watch. It was some
Hmm.
pretty good performances for it. And if you're a fight fan, it was a good time. Now, the YouTube, when I first saw that they were on YouTube, and now I'm a DAZN or DAZN, however you want to call it. So like I subscribe to it, and normally Bellator gets played through that. So seeing that it wasn't on DAZN, I was very confused. I was like, why am I
Hmm.
paying for this? But the YouTube, having it live streamed on YouTube, I really enjoyed it. And because the broadcast with DAZN, if anybody else watches Bellator on DAZN, you know they do the shitty adverts like
Hmm.
in between each fight, and it's real awkward. They're all real old. So,
What's
but with
on your Instagram
yeah,
from
and
6 months ago?
even longer. Like I've
Yeah.
been seeing the same thing for a year. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like they're doing the one with Paige Van Zant's husband Austin Vanderford, and he's had his massive neck tattoo for well over a year, and in the video he doesn't have the tattoo, so it's so obvious.
Yeah.
But they did their own stuff. They had the one, I can't remember the name, but the European commentators walking through the fighter hotels, stuff like that. So it was really interesting, and how easy it is to just bring it up on YouTube.
Yeah.
It was
It's
perfect.
perfect. It's
Yeah,
perfect. And I think it's like a few interesting things here. Because one, um, now that they've tried it on YouTube, I wonder if they go back, and not always, because you got to make your money somewhere. You can't be putting this stuff out for free. And YouTube, it's very hard to monetize it on YouTube. Um, like
but I think
enough.
they've done it on YouTube before.
Yeah. So like it's interesting if they've done this and they start doing it more as a way of letting people in, letting people who never want have paid for a pay-per-view before, give them a free night of fights or a free afternoon of fights, get them hooked. You should let them see if you are the poor man's UFC, which I
Yeah,
mean no disrespect to Bellator before, other than just knowing the place they have in the world. If you're that, you have to be scrappy. You have to be like, you got to be hungry going after these potential
yeah,
viewers, and doing things like giving away a huge card like a James Gallagher fight, who's one of your biggest rising stars, away for free. Now, when you put the next James Gallagher fight behind a paywall,
but here's
I'm
the
sure
thing
there's a
is
lot of new
but
viewers.
because they don't really have a paywall in here. For me, they have a paywall, but for all their other fights that I watch on DAZN, they're through they were through Paramount Network. Now they're on CBS.
Uh huh.
So your paywall is paying for that probably pretty specific sports channel that the average person doesn't have, because
Mm-hmm.
this isn't your UFC that's coming out on ESPN or TSN for us in Canada.
Yeah.
So that's your paywall. So technically, they don't run the pay per view model
Mm-hmm.
that's standard. So I
Yeah.
think the YouTube is a little bit more attainable,
Yeah. That's a good point.
especially if you could strike a deal with YouTube if you start
Yeah.
doing good numbers.
Oh yeah.
For me though, I would say is like when I watch Bellator, they have a lot of prospect fights.
Mm-hmm.
They'll have somebody with either a losing record or it's their professional debut.
Uh-huh.
And it's pretty hard to compare yourself to the UFC when you have those guys fighting on the same cards as your top flight guys, like the James
Mhm.
Gallagher, your Douglas Lima, et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
I would like to see, and they want to start rolling out Thursday night fights.
Yeah.
We have one coming up like next Saturday. They have the normal fight, but the Thursday afterwards there's a fight card. Like next
Mhm.
Saturday, actually, in first major MMA promotional event in France, and then you have Czech Congo versus Timothy Johnson as a heavyweight main event.
Mhm.
Great fight. And you
Yeah.
have MVP versus, don't remember the guy's name, but he's probably a can because Bellator loves rolling MVP Michael Venom Page out and
Mhm.
just letting him destroy some guy.
Yeah, and
So,
that's great
but
TV. And, oh, sorry, you were
sorry, but
saying?
yeah, there's gonna say the Thursday afterwards they have Chris Cyborg
Mhm.
fighting, and I'm drawing a blank on the girl's name again. Her record's 12-7. It's not gonna be a close fight.
Mhm.
Cyborg's gonna kill her. But why don't you have Thursdays for roll it out on YouTube?
Mhm.
Have a lot of these prospects and everything, where it's people aren't the paywall for the channel or whatever.
Mhm.
You're getting it for free. You're seeing all these prospects, right?
Mhm.
So, and then on the weekend on your Saturday card, do the normal event with more of your top flight fighters.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where
Yeah, split it up. Split
yeah,
it up.
especially right now where you don't have
Mhm.
to worry about the crowds.
Yeah.
Because there's one thing if you bring in a full crowd and they're only getting 10 fights or 8 fights, people might get a little upset. But you don't have to
Yeah.
worry about that right now.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a great point. And like, and another thing too with the whole YouTube thing, like there's a weird relationship. Like there's some sort of tie between DAZN or DAZN and YouTube, because I mean think about the last KSI Logan Paul 2, that was like a YouTube partnership with DAZN, and then Bellator's in there as well as the connection to DAZN. So now doesn't, or YouTube has connection with Bellator. So this is like a three-way circle here. And I think part of the like reasoning for Dazn to go in and say we want to host the Logan Paul KSI fight was because we want to show boxing a dying sport amongst the younger generations. That's a topic for another podcast, but we want to bring that sport, introduce it to younger fans. The kids are on YouTube, and Bellator, I think, has an understanding that the kids are on YouTube, and you have a guy like James Gallagher who's so young, 23 years old, he's fit to be huge with the young kids, right? So I feel like this is a genius move, to get it on YouTube and to do more events on YouTube where it's free, and some guy kid browsing YouTube can just turn it on and see, hey, um, this is cool. This is for free. I can't believe it. I think it changes everything. It can change everything.
I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it a lot. And then for the big MMA promotion, the UFC, the card last night or Saturday night with just some quick hits from it, I'd say, like Holly Holm beat Irene Aldana.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty dominant performance from what I heard. Didn't you watch the fight? I didn't.
Yeah.
So anything special to say about that?
No, it was just you knew what was happening. It wasn't looking like there was going to be a knockout. It was just Holly Holm was playing smart. Getting her points in when she could, and it was pretty. She ran away with it pretty early. So, not an exciting, super exciting thing. The Castro Felipe fight was, I mean, a bit of a snoozer. Like not much happened in it. So the co-main and the main were just a little bit, like not as exciting, but overall it was a great card. I think like the Casey Kenny in the prelims, he was throwing at Haley, like he was just like going off. Like Casey Kenny, like he looks like a poor man's TJ Dillashaw, and man, like he almost fights like it too. He really exciting. Carlos Condit, who I love, he just
a legend.
He just broke Court McGee's face, man. His nose was just like in the first round, his nose was just sideways.
I did see that.
It was nuts, man. Condit is an incredible fighter and just went right through McGee. So that was exciting. Dusko, I always mess up this name. Dusko Torovic.
Before last week's pod, I asked if we'd saw him because I thought he was Canadian. He's 100% not Canadian. Like I was thinking of somebody completely different.
Jordan's.
No. There was I saw him. We're gonna have to look at the Ottawa card that we were at. There was somebody with a somewhat similar name that I got confused about.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, like I think I know who you're talking about. Like I could see him, but I couldn't name him. And the Daquan Townsend just got manhandled by Dusko. Dusko went right through him. Daquan was just lost out there early on. It was a great fight. So there were some really big gems in that night. But the co-main and the main were just like the cherry on top had gone sour. So it's tough. Brad's looking.
I was thinking of Nordine Taleb or Kyle Prepelek.
Taleb, yeah. That's the guy.
Yeah,
that's the guy.
They kind of look similar. But next week's UFC card, 8:00 main card start. So we're absolutely blessed. And I think this main event is very underrated because I haven't a lot of people already Korean Zombie Ortega. I'm so excited. But this main event, Mariah Sandhagen, that's a big fight for the bantamweight division. And honestly, I don't know, Sandhagen's a stud. He looked awful in his last fight against Sterling, but a lot of people in that division are going to look awful when you fight Aljamain Sterling. But you have Marlon Moraes, who is somebody who knocked out Aljamain Sterling a couple years ago, mind you, very different Aljamain Sterling. But so he's got the win over the guy that just last beat Sandhagen. So where's this fight go? It's going to be really exciting, I think.
I think it's there's so many questions about what can happen. And that's just an exciting thing, It's just gonna be good.
The bantamweight division is quickly becoming one of the best divisions in the UFC. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of it's how active the fighters are,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of talking going on in that division.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty stacked throughout.
Yeah.
So it's quickly becoming a really fun division to watch. And
Mm-hmm.
135 pounders, they're just so quick in the cage,
Yeah.
and they have the power down there too.
Mm-hmm.
Like you got your Cody Garbrandt, even though he's trying to make that, well, mind you, not anymore, because he tore his bicep, so he's out of the flyweight title fight.
Mm-hmm.
But normally you have Cody Garbrandt in that division. You Dominic Cruz when he's back in there.
Mm-hmm.
You got your champ Peter Yan, all
Mm-hmm.
those down there.
Yeah.
TJ Dillashaw's come back soon too. His
Yeah.
suspension from EPO ends in January.
And
I
he's gonna
think
be better than ever.
my opinion is that I think deep TJ Dillashaw will be better when he comes back than when he was
Mm-hmm.
before he left. Because you're looking at somebody who had two shoulder surgery, so
Mm-hmm.
those would have been nagging injuries for God knows how long. He's gonna have the time to rest his body up.
Mm-hmm.
He'd been the champ for a while, so it's just constantly going.
Yeah.
He's gonna come back relaxed,
Yeah.
refreshed, and healthy.
Yeah. And you talk about how stacked this division has become, and I think a lot of that is in part to, I mean, Cejudo cleared out when he did. He bowed out, he retired, he said, "I've done enough here. I've done enough in my career. I want to focus on other things." And he just opened up the floodgates for so many people. When there's an opportunity, when you have a guy that's just at the top and stuck,
Yeah.
and is fixed in that spot, and is just undisputed for so long, it's hard to imagine yourself as a fighter like aspiring to do better than you are right now. Things kind of still get stilted, and we saw that in the light heavyweight division with John Jones, and now the same thing the same thing has happened in the light heavyweight division as in the bantamweight. Just the guy at the top bowed out at the perfect time to allow the people below him their chance to shine. And
Mm-hmm.
now it becomes, when there's a title that's, you can see yourself getting the title,
Yep.
that changes the way you fight. Even if you're a number 10 guy and you're fighting an 8, that's in your back of your mind. You say, this title is up for grabs. Brad's playing something on. He got bored with what I was saying, so he turned on YouTube to watch somebody who probably actually knows what they're talking about. But I don't know. He's pulling up an article where he's not. Oh, and he's, what is he doing with is there a button he's trying to push on the
Yeah,
side?
I'm sorry. I was trying to I was trying to be proactive and bring up the bracket for the MLB playoffs so we could pick the teams later, and it just started playing a video, and I couldn't get it to stop.
Man, high quality production here at Big Game Talk. We do it the
I'm
best.
sorry.
We do it the best.
I was MLB make your playoff brackets a little bit easier accessible.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tough out there.
So I'm sorry. I mean, I missed what you were saying. Do you want to just roll into the playoff brackets, or what were you saying?
Let's just
there?
roll. I finished it off. Finished it off.
I apologize, Chris.
But first, we're gonna talk about the XFL.
I mean, want to end with that?
Yeah, let's end with
because
that.
Okay. That's our bread and butter here. On
Yeah,
this podcast.
that is the bread and butter.
That is the bread and butter.
All right, so let's go into MLB.
We got League Division Series best of 5. Just give you you want to just give the winner?
Yeah.
And how many games? So A's versus the Astros. So Athletics and Astros.
I think the Athletics win in 4 games. I think the Astros get sneaky. They sneak in the trash can, win a game.
I got Astros in 5.
Really?
I think this is I think here the Astros had a pretty tough regular season.
Yeah.
I think they go on a big time revenge tour in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And piss people off a lot.
I like the Athletics this year though.
I really like the Athletics too, just because you can't watch Moneyball and not become an Athletics fan. You can't. Yeah. But go back there. Am I allowed to say piss and we still be kid friendly on YouTube for the algorithms?
I think we can. Though I mean, you can't even say like, you can barely say the word died.
so bleep them out.
Yeah, we're just gonna bleep them out.
Tampa Bay Rays versus the New York Yankees.
I think Tampa Bay in 4. I think as I've said, the sports gods are going to come through.
Tampa Bay in 5. Yankees
Tampa
get
Bay
at
in
least 2
5.
wins. Yeah.
Yeah,
I got.
you're right. Tampa Bay in 5.
Mhm.
I think the Yankees make it interesting, but I don't think the Yankees haven't been as good as people have expected them to this year. Well, they still have a good season. I don't think they have enough depth. So
Yeah. The Atlanta Braves versus Miami Marlins.
I think I'm leaning towards the Braves just because they have a lot more like they're a playoff team. The Marlins are just keep getting lucky. And I think the luck runs out in 4 games.
I got Marlins in 4
Uh-huh.
for these reasons. If logical thinking, the Braves 100%. I agree. But
Yeah.
you, the Florida sports thing we talked about earlier, and
Yeah.
also the Miami Marlins in their entire history have never lost a playoff series. It's a completely wild stat. The
Yeah.
only times they've ever made the playoffs, they won the World Series, and they just swept the Cubs, who are a
Yeah,
good
but
team.
yeah, that's
So I
true.
so
That is
and this
true.
is 2020. Wild things are happening. So
Yeah,
I'm
but
gonna go with the non-conventional.
wouldn't the wild thing that happens be the Marlins actually lose a playoff series?
No, because the Miami Marlins should be a absolutely horrendous baseball team.
Because okay, imagine the Miami Marlins win. The conversation, like all the people that have been losing their minds, including myself, about this extended playoff format, saying it's dumb. That just opens the floodgates for a huge conversation
Yeah,
about all that.
yeah,
So
and it's gonna make me right
yeah, about what?
because I love the extended playoffs
Yeah,
because you
but
give teams a
how
chance.
can you justify the extended playoffs if one of the most pathetic teams in baseball win the World Series?
Because you extend the playoffs and anything can happen. You obviously didn't deserve to win the championship if the Miami Marlins can walk over you. And then the next one,
This is just a crazy. This is like Monkey World
it's wild
World
times.
Series.
Yeah. And then how about this one? The Dodgers versus the Padres.
Dodgers versus the Padres. I think Padres in 5.
I like that too.
I
I
think
love Fernando Tatis Jr.
I like it's just a fun team, such a
Yeah.
fun young team. And the Dodgers, I mean, they're the Yankees of the West. They've bought their way there. And the Dodgers, they're choke city in the playoffs. They're choke city. Clayton Kershaw is choke city.
I mean, you can't. Are you gonna say that though with the World Series against the Astros, and then the Red Sox back-to-back years where theoretically they were cheating both years, the Red Sox and the Astros?
Yeah.
Can
Well,
you say they are choke city?
yeah, I guess they've moved away from it, but still, they're. What I'll say is they're flaky in the playoffs.
Yes.
They can be very flaky in the playoffs. And I think the Padres, I think the hand is with them. The heavy hand, like the hot hand, like um
I like a Padres Astros World Series.
that and see if anybody yeah, that'd be a good story.
I
That'd be
think
fun.
that's what it's gonna be.
Yeah, that's what you think it's gonna be?
Yeah.
That'd be not
And then
bad.
I don't know. I like the Padres to win it all. I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Yeah, Padres.
I'm not sold on that pick. Like
Yeah.
I could come back here next week and change that.
Mm-hmm.
But like they're such a fun team to watch, and
Yeah.
Tatis Jr. is just a highlight machine.
Yeah. Yeah, and Josh, he has $50 on the Padres to win.
Oh, so
Put
he's
that
gonna like that pick.
Yeah, he bet that a while ago too. So there's some
What are
big
the
money.
odds on that one?
I can't remember what the odds are, but it's a pretty decent payout. So
That would be solid.
yeah.
All
All
right.
right.
So did we kind of we glossed over it? We had it on the list. Adesanya, John Jones.
Yeah.
Do you want to get into that, or is that
Yeah.
is that one that we get into later? Because I mean that is a deep hole to dive down.
Let's
Do you want?
let's just do
Okay.
a flyover of that hole because
Okay.
yeah,
I got some things to say.
Yeah.
So one, Israel Adesanya. Do not chirp John Jones for talking about you when all you do is talk about John Jones unprovoked.
Yeah.
And also, you are a 185 pounder who has the ability to move up. Do I think you should move up? Absolutely not, because you're small for 185. John Jones is a 205 pounder who has made the decision to move up to heavyweight, and he cannot physically make middleweight. So for him to talk about you first would be ridiculous, which he hasn't. All
Yeah.
you've done, Adesanya, is talk about John Jones, and then when John Jones responds to you, say that all John Jones talk about you. Makes no sense.
Yeah.
No sense at all. To
Yeah.
go out on social media and also talk about John Jones' dead mother being disappointed in him, completely uncalled for. All
Yeah.
you're doing is John Jones. Most people that are actual MMA fans do not like John Jones,
Yeah.
and you're making a lot of John Jones fans. If that fight happens, first of all, too, Israel Adesanya, if you go up to 205, fight John Jones, you're getting beat real bad
Yeah.
because you have not fought somebody like John Jones. He's going to keep you at distance and he's going to destroy you, or he's going to take you to the ground, which nobody has done in the UFC yet,
Mm-hmm.
and he can, and he's going to beat the ever living hell out of you, and it's not going to be close. And the odds
Yeah.
that have came out that have John Jones at minus 170, absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'd put my life
I
savings on
I
it.
would start gambling for those odds.
It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. Like, but Adesanya just throwing uncalled for shots. Like he's so good in the octagon, and
Mm-hmm.
every time he opens his mouth, he all like I guess he's gaining fans because he's pretty popular.
Yeah.
But it's hard to cheer for him.
Yeah, I don't like the Adesanya act. Like I don't, and a lot of people, I have a lot of friends that really like him that are huge fans of his and think he's so funny and he's so interesting. Like I just think
So cringy.
he's a boring person trying so hard to be interesting. And that's what bothers me about Israel Adesanya. Like he's just a boring person that's
Mhm.
just like so uninterested. Like he's one of those guys that like dyes his hair pink because he thinks that's gonna make him more interesting. And it,
Well,
you
and
know,
also to admit to the things you do, where you keep talking about
yeah,
John Jones, admit that you're the one who's talking about him. Don't
hmm
talk at length about him. Talk about how you're gonna beat him in a fight. Then come out when John Jones responds to you, say, all you do is talk about me, you're my biggest fan, and I'm not ready to fight you. You're 31 years old, you've had 100 professional fights. You're either ready now, you never will be.
yeah. It's so
And
annoying.
and,
It's
and
little
if you
dog.
and if you're not ready, why are you talking about him?
Yeah, it's little dog syndrome. Like this
Yeah,
guy's
well,
just
you said that
yipping away.
over. Yeah, that's the best way to talk about it. It's perfect,
Yeah,
absolutely perfect
like John Jones,
explanation.
if you're listening, tweet that right now. You got this guy. Like, when people were saying like coming out of that the Costa fight, John Jones, John Jones, John Jones, like in light of Israel Adesanya, I was like, shut the hell up. Like it's just so annoying. Like it's so clickbaity. It's so like it's just it's not gonna happen. Like we're talking about things. This is like who would win, Batman or Thor? You know that was that's what the conversation felt like. A bunch of comic book nerds arguing about like fictional characters. That's how abstract the idea of Adesanya fighting John Jones is to me. Like it's just not
Even now,
happening.
Dana White said that's the fight to make. What
What?
you obviously have to do it at 205. So if
Yeah,
John Jones has started beefing up for heavyweight, that's done now. He's
yeah,
got to come back down. So now you're pushing off his heavyweight debut. I wouldn't mind the fight,
yeah.
but the thing is, John Jones dropped the title. So
Uh-huh.
there's no title. Are you gonna have those two fight with no title on the line?
Yeah,
No. Are you gonna make up another title and then you're gonna have two fake titles running around the UFC?
yeah.
I hope not.
Yeah, and it's gonna be one of the rare like weight gains. Instead of a weight, you've heard of weight cut, now try weight gains as Israel Adesanya tries to gain 20 pounds, in order to fight him.
Well, and
You
if you're
know,
Adesanya, do you even do that? Because
yeah.
his style, the extra weight probably doesn't do
No,
good for him
that's a
because
good
it'll slow him
point.
down.
So what happens when John Jones, who's used to facing people the same weight as him, meets a guy that's 20 pounds lighter? And like,
Even more
how do
so
you?
because John probably cuts
Yeah, John.
and into 205 and he's going to beef back up.
Yeah. And imagine if John Jones went out and fought a heavyweight, beat the heavyweight, and then went like back down to light heavyweight to fight Adesanya. It's like when when you're in the batter's box and you got the weight on, and you got double bats and you're swinging it around, and then you step up to the plate with one bat and you're like, man, this is light. That's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, and the thing, like John Jones can storm across that cage, shoot a double leg takedown, and take him down, and just throw elbows. Like it's going to be a quick fight.
Yeah.
Adesanya will not offer John Jones anything, and people are going to say, "Well, John Jones he got beat by Dominic Reyes or John Jones, like the Thiago Santos. And I have talked about those things too. I get it, where they were close
Uh-huh.
fights. Arguably, he lost. But John, if you think John Jones was showing up for an Adesanya fight after he said the things he did, not prepared and
Yeah.
ready to kill him, John Jones has been bored for
Yeah.
years. He's
Hmm.
got nothing to fight for. He's got the titles. He's got the GOAT. He very obviously is bored in the cage. He
Hmm.
will not be bored fighting Israel Adesanya.
No. And
And he
and
will have something to prove.
and here's a question that might be a little bit out of place on a kid show, but I'm gonna ask it anyways. You know,
Shoot.
so let's say
We got
any
editing features.
anybody, John Jones or anybody, right? Whoever is the first to beat Israel Adesanya and Adesanya goes down, do you think the guy humps him like a revenge hump?
No. If it's Costa, yes. But Costa's never beaten Adesanya.
Yeah.
Um, no, I don't think so. I
John
think
Jones, not even John Jones.
he'll do the remember what he did to DC at 178 where he did the like that?
Yeah.
He'll he'll do that, bring out the DX chop.
Which is a little bit more classy.
Yeah.
Just slightly more classy.
Yeah, that to be honest, the level that it's at now, you're looking at a damn near like I'm not saying the Khabib jumping into the crowd situation, but a Khabib situation where Herb Dean's ripping Khabib off of Connor
Yeah.
because he's not done. Like John, it's very well known how close John Jones was with his mother. So to
Hmm.
bring up and talk about that, it's just
Yeah.
it's like one of the only things you could say to John Jones that are make people going to feel sorry for him.
Yeah.
Take his side versus yours.
Yeah. And that, I mean, like John Jones, it humanizes John Jones, which I mean, the media and everybody like kind of all of John Jones critics have been trying to take the humanity out of John Jones and to have done it pretty successfully. Like John Jones like is not a very well liked figure, you know,
No,
and
in casual
anytime
fans,
yeah,
he's still decently popular, but for the mainstream, like the main fans, he's
they're
really
tired
not.
of him.
Yeah.
And part of it too is like part of my frustration with John Jones is he's just so dominant. He just absorbs all this attention. It's a very similar to Conor McGregor, just absorbs all this attention. And eventually you just I'm tired of when I was so happy when I found out the title was actually vacated because it's finally we're gonna get to stop talking about John Jones. And coming out of that huge Israel Adesanya Costa card, along with the Dominic Reyes Blachowicz card or co-main, you know,
Yep.
big night, big names, lots of storylines, and the only words in anyone's mouth the next day was John Jones.
No, it's
You know, it's
ridiculous.
frustrating. And all John Jones did was sit on Twitter at home. Like
I don't
it,
blame him though, but like the
no,
thing is,
I
people are
don't
gonna
blame
put
him
yeah,
either. I like you can't blame John Jones for it. It's just the system and it's frustrating. Like I want to focus on talking about cost. Like there's so much to break down from Costa Adesanya still, but immediately he just jumps on this John Jones thing. Like I don't know who put it in his head that he could even fight John Jones. Maybe he heard Blachowicz calling out John Jones, getting a bunch of attention. I want that
well,
attention too. Like
Adesanya's talked about Jones since before he beat Whitaker. I think
yeah,
like it's been a long time,
yeah.
and it makes no sense.
Yeah, and I mean, it was John Jones that called Adesanya an anime nerd, right?
But that was after Adesanya called him out, and that's
Yeah, yeah, you know, and
like
I
it
think
is
yeah,
funny, and
it's
it's like it,
hilarious, and I feel like that's just that subtle roast is just has been eating away Israel. And the thing about it is, it's 100% true. That like the truth just will eat at you if
yeah,
it's said by the right person.
the most hurtful insults are the ones that are true.
Yeah, you know, so like John Jones has Israel Adesanya's number. You want to talk trash? John Jones is one of the best at talking trash. Like
Hmm.
it's totally these guys are totally different levels. You know,
Yeah,
um, not to discredit Israel Adesanya at all. Like I don't want to lower stock in him because he's an excellent fighter and he just in terms of roasting people, he's like that guy that just tries so hard to be funny that all he
mhm.
can do is go too far, which
Yeah.
is what you saw with the mother thing. And
He's like a non-racial Kobe Covington.
Yeah. Yeah. But he's like exactly. I think that's exactly
And
what it is.
honestly, too, like look up the. Like, I don't even know if we can say this on the as a kid show, and it's actually pretty just a horrible thing to say. Look up what he said to Yo Romero before their first fight.
Mhm.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
I can't remember.
Yeah. He talked about. I can't remember the exact quote, and like it was something about the like not like the Twin Towers or something about
Oh
that.
yeah,
Oh
I'm
yeah,
gonna I'm gonna drop you like the Twin Towers.
yeah. And I'm like, that's what an awful quote.
Yeah.
No, and then he was like, too soon. I'm like, yeah, guy, like, shut up.
Yeah.
Like, it
And
makes no sense.
it makes yeah, it's stupid. Yeah, it's
So
just
cringe.
trying he's trying too hard. It's cringy. It's yeah,
Yeah.
you hit the nail on the head with that word, cringy.
And I
Like,
saw a headline too, where it was Chandler Jones, like John Jones'
mhm.
brother, came out in defense of him, and I'm like, oh, that's all you gotta do. Like Chandler Jones, when he played for the Patriots, he was my favorite player on the Pats. He has been on the Pats for a long time, but I
Mhm.
still love the guy from his time there. Super Bowl 49 win too is a key part of that.
Mhm.
So I mean, he comes out, I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm all in on John Jones now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So because I was on the John Jones bandwagon for a long, long time because of Chandler Jones.
Mhm.
It took a really what happened with the DC is really what, because I'm a big DC guy. That's what pulled
Mhm.
me off. But
Yeah.
still, even in the comebacks and everything, I was kind of like,
Yeah,
yeah,
you can't look away from John Jones.
yeah,
That's the fact of the matter. He's just an interesting person, a
yeah,
dynamic person, complicated person,
yeah,
and that's like our brains are just attracted to that.
yep, yep.
All right.
Now, I'm gonna talk about a complicated league. I think it's time to what time is it here? Yeah, we've been on. I think it's getting close to the wrap up, eh?
Yeah.
So the XFL
XFL is back.
2022, yeah, is back. This is exciting.
This
Now,
is this is
I think
good.
we're gonna have a lot of conversation, especially as more things come out before
Hmm.
the format that's coming out. What's gonna like? I'm gonna assume that the contracts
Yeah.
are null
Yeah.
from before, so they're gonna have to do a whole nother draft and everything, which will be pretty exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, because hopefully
Like,
our dragons get a little better
yeah,
draw.
well, here's what I was gonna bring up to you. I was like, now that the seasons, like, assuming that the same teams come back, assuming
Yeah.
the same teams, are we going to be still Seattle Dragons fans,
Yes.
or do we make the decision to be like, why are we cheering for probably one of the only teams, and well, not the only team, but one of the most impossible teams to go to see their games?
I can't not cheer for the Seattle Dragons, Brad.
Yeah, I was
I
hoping that
can't
you'd say
not.
that. Yeah,
Yeah, I can't not cheer for the Seattle Dragons. Because think about it. I mean, we're either gonna cheer for. Let's think about the East Coast. We're gonna cheer for the New York Guardians. Just like it's stupid. Like
worst
Guardians,
jerseys in the
like
league,
all
worst
worst
jerseys in the
jerseys
league.
in the league. You're
Or
gonna cheer for the
Washington,
Washington
or
Defenders,
DC. Sorry.
DC Defenders. Just I would never cheer for a Washington team in my life, other than a Washington State team. Go Seattle Dragons. You got the Tampa Bay Vipers. Disgusting. Though the sports god still, you may be on your side, but still, that's a disgusting franchise.
Yeah,
And then what was the last team? What was the
or St. Louis on the East
St.
Coast
Louis?
too.
Yeah, and
Is
St.
St.
Louis,
Louis East
like,
Coast?
yeah, that's the East Coast still, but St. Louis, I mean, like, that's still pretty far away. Like, it's not like you're gaining
Okay,
time going to the stadium, you
I'm
know.
down. I'm down to be a Seattle Dragons fan. I'm
Yeah,
all in. And here's the thing too: is like, if we're gonna do this as Canadians, we got to be all in when the CFL comes back, especially because CFL is gonna need the support because they're gonna
yeah,
be hurting.
yeah. It's like
So,
we will save the CFL, you
and
know.
we're gonna be Argos, obviously,
Yeah.
right? We're pretty close to Toronto here, so I'm excited. I'm really excited for the XFL to come back. I hope that
Hmm.
they don't change the rules,
Yeah.
bring back the same rules that you rolled forward, do the whole new draft. I assume like coaches and all that, like it's gonna have to be all changed. Like you're
Hmm.
looking at the same situation as last time, like the whole new. But if anybody's gonna make it successful, it's gonna be The Rock.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, he's definitely got the and I think I mean, one of the best things about the XFL was their social media team was brilliant,
oh, they
you
were
know,
on point. Yeah,
was absolutely brilliant. Like the memes they were putting out, like it was very like guerrilla style, just fun.
Oh yeah,
that they were putting out.
every morning before the games, they were just getting you hyped up for the
Yeah.
game. Everything was
And they were
unreal.
doing it like in the cheapest, like kind of like it was very much like a football resistance, almost like against the NFL. Like they're the guerrilla fighters against the NFL that are just doing anything that they can to win, like scrappy as hell, and that was the appeal. It was so fun that way. And you add in the Rock's one personality and two just star power. Like I love Vince McMahon, but Vince McMahon tweets something out and like tweets out, "Hey, we're starting a football league," and WWE fans and fringe sports fans know what's going on. The Rock tweets something out, and sports fans and just anybody that
Yeah.
likes movies, anybody that likes popular culture knows what's going on.
Wait, if he
The
posted on his when he posts on X on his Instagram, like let me pull up the Rock's
Yeah,
Instagram here, tell you how many followers he has because it's absolutely ridiculous.
yeah. And
Here,
in that picture, well, Brad is look
199 million followers. So when he
199.
goes when on opening day when he goes check out the XFL and tweet and post an Instagram to 199 million followers, the amount of marketing money that would
Yeah,
have to be spent to reach that following that
yeah.
they're now just getting by the owner of the owner of the whole league putting it out.
Yeah, because
You can't fight that.
yeah, and think about how much, let's say, MLB hires The Rock to announce to cut a promo for the World Series, right? How much is The Rock getting paid for that? Think about how much money, that The Rock's star power brings, and that's just built into the XFL.
Yep.
That's huge.
It's gonna be fun.
That's huge. And even like it'd be nice to see Vince McMahon get in there, on the action a little bit. Have a little
When there's the
storyline. Have a little
pre-existing relationship.
Yeah, there's a pre-existing relationship because this is you gotta give respect to Vince McMahon. This is his baby. And yeah, it didn't work out. Like, yes, but it didn't work out because of coronavirus.
Yeah.
It was an act of God that as the lawyers say, that caused the XFL to go bust. And you got to feel for Vince McMahon, and it would be really nice to see The Rock kind of include McMahon in the process, and
Yep.
maybe even. Do you think you bring back Oliver Luck as commissioner?
I think that bridge is burned.
That bridge is yeah,
Don't forget,
that's true.
didn't he bring legal action against him?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That it kind of was an ugly end, which is a shame because I mean Oliver Luck was so integral to the process of making the rule
Yep.
changes, which
Yep.
for the most part, for the better, like most of the rule changes, though I wouldn't want to see them in NFL because the NFL is what it is, but for the XFL they worked fantastic.
They were perfect.
There
Yeah.
was so much love put into the XFL, and so many people. It's such a shame that just the carpet got ripped out below them, and now it's so nice to see that there's a second chance around the right around the corner. We don't have to wait when the XFL. I mean, it was 20 years between the first iteration of the XFL to the one we got, and now it's only 2 years. That the fact that they can turn it around that fast is huge, and it's
Yep.
so nice. And what that means is a lot of the guys that have been trying to get in the NFL their whole lives and just haven't quite they haven't gotten the showcase for it yet, that got that chance with the XFL in 2020, then had that ripped off your livelihood that you think you're set in a certain, like, with a job, and now it's ripped out on your feet, and playing football isn't going to get you hired in anywhere other than in football. Now you can't play no more, and then the XFL goes away. Hearing that it's coming back, I can try out again. I can enter into the draft again in in under 2 years.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Well, because
That
you're looking at if they start in 2022, you're looking at about a year from now,
mhm.
where they're gonna have to start creating all the teams and everything to get the like the training camps and everything
Yeah.
going. So you're really we're looking at about a year from now before probably the drafts and everything take place.
Yeah. So that's huge, man. It's huge. And I wish The Rock all the best because I think the world needs a secondary football league, and man, it made like February so fun.
Yeah.
It made February fantastic.
Yes, it did.
You
Now
know.
I got a proposal for you
Yeah.
for this podcast. Now we've talked at length on this podcast about how we had talked about being a sports podcast for a long time. really was the XFL. We were going to be a Dragons podcast and we are going to be an
Mhm.
XFL podcast. Thank God we just became a sports podcast,
Yeah.
or else we'd have been done long ago. How about near the end of each episode, we do about a 5-minute segment on the XFL and the CFL too. We got to give love to the Canadian
Mhm.
Football League too. We do kind of a little bit of like a 5-minute like update, our thoughts, whatever we want to do about those two leagues.
Yeah.
Do near the end, you know what I
And
mean?
we
Don't make
call
it.
it the Dragon's Den.
Yeah, roll with it if you want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But we kind of give love to those two leagues, see what's going on with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Keeps us keeping up with them, and lets the listeners keep up with them as well. You
Yeah.
down with that?
Yeah, I think that's good.
All right. Now, I mean, we're getting close to the end here. Anything going on in your life of note, or are we just falling back into these Corona times?
I think we're falling back into these Corona times, man. It's tough. It's tough.
Yeah,
Um,
October 1st hit, and coronavirus just went. You know, it's time to kick in. It's
yeah.
Daniel Murphy in the playoffs time.
Yeah.
I'm here to play.
Let's hope he's like I think October is Daniel Murphy in the playoffs, and then November is we're gonna get a vaccine and COVID's gonna become Daniel Murphy in the World Series.
Let's all hope.
Let's
Let's
hope.
all hope. Yeah.
Let's hope. Let's hope. But yeah, man, this has just been a crazy year, and it's surreal, man. Going back into because I mean, working at the grocery store, we're starting to like over the last maybe month and a half, we've started to pull back on our COVID procedures, and I'm not going to say the name of the store, but like pull back. And I'm not saying like it's
If
unsafe
you're a listener to the show,
anymore.
you know the name of the
Yeah,
store, so it doesn't
like
matter.
it's not to say like, oh, like we don't care anymore, but it's like things are like we're starting to open up more as restrictions got eased on other businesses, restrictions got eased on us, and now all of a sudden it's like, okay, we're gonna have to go back and get real serious about this again. It's just weird to be here, and,
Yeah.
and even though like it was predicted to happen this way, it's just strange. It's just very strange.
It is very strange.
Yeah.
But you know, it's also strange. This is the first time in months we've had back-to-back weeks with episodes.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just thinking, when was the last time we did this? Probably June.
Yeah. Yeah, because
It was before, at least early July, probably June. It was
yeah.
definitely before I went on study leave.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, and that was when the world was getting real crazy, you know.
yeah,
Things were getting
it
nuts.
feels good to be doing this
Feels
back to
good to be
back
doing
weeks.
it again,
I
and
mean, I'm still really liking the setup too.
yeah.
I like
Yeah.
this microphone stand that you told me to buy. I
Yeah.
absolutely love it.
Dude, it's so nice. Once you get that going, like you feel like now
'Cause I think we got
we're
the
on
same
radio.
stand, don't we?
Well, they're all
A
the
little
same.
different.
They're all the same.
Yeah,
Like
they're all the same. Yeah.
depending on like there's like tiers. You pay this much, you get this. You pay this much, you get this, and it's pretty much the same.
Yeah.
But who knows? Either maybe it's the same. I don't know.
Yeah, mine. This one was $30.
Yeah, mine was unbranded. Like mine was like China, $13. It came in 3 months.
Hopefully, it didn't come in February or March.
No, it came way earlier than that. It came way pre-corona. This was I got this a long time ago. Back when I was doing my podcast, Idiomatical Correctness.
Yeah, that was before. That was when you were a solo podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And putting out like 20-minute episodes
Yeah.
and talking about idioms.
I'm very glad that you decided to do sports with me instead of idioms. But so what I was just gonna say too is like soon once this coronavirus things like we get a little bit of a dip, we're definitely gonna get together. We're gonna probably come at you with a new logo. We're gonna come out with the covers and everything. We're gonna work on some promotional stuff, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
We updated our logo so it looks a little bit cleaner for the Spotify and iTunes. If you take a look at that, we're not gonna have the big white around the circle. I don't even know if you've seen this, Chris.
Yeah,
I updated it today. Yeah, so it looks a little bit cleaner. But I think like we got some work to do for the ad reads and stuff. Like we want to just toss an ad read on the end of this too once we're done that.
Yeah,
but we'll get some stock stuff in. We'll get the pictures and logo, and we'll make it a little bit more professional. Like, I mean, we're not trying to be professional. sit back relaxing, but
Mm-hmm.
get a little bit more.
Yeah.
We're it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you're this far into the episode, we might as well just like support us. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the easiest way for us to grow is just support us. Let us know what you think. Like we know who we are,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
every
I'm
like
Brad. You're Chris.
no, but you know what I mean. We know where we're at. So
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
little bit helps.
Yeah. You know, like if we could get 1 like on this video, just make our day.
Yeah, don't be begging. But you know what I mean. Like check us out. You know, like if you're watching this, you know where we're at. You're at. Check below, or if you're on the audio, we're on YouTube as well. Um, the ad read, you got it, or you want me to grab it?
I'll just say so. If you're working out now, the gyms are opening up again. You're trying to get into shape. It's now bulking season. And what do you need during bulking season? You need protein. Get your protein at fnxfit.com. It's Phoenix Fit, fnx.com. It's spelled FNX. You can go there, buy anything you want, from like workout gear to supplements to protein to pre-workout, anything that you're going to put in your body in order to aid your workout and to help you recover is found at fnxfit.com. So check that out. Use promo code BGT15 for 15% off your purchase. When you do so, you help us out here at the program. So we'd love it if you did that. So enjoy, get in shape, bulk up this winter. fnxfit.com, promo code BGT15. Thank you for hearing us out with that ad read.
No. Let's hit the titles together.
Big game talk. Yeah.
I was gonna pretend to like hit them together, but it just does not work on the.
Yeah, because the Zoom.
I can't find the corner. There we go.
But I think Zoom reverses things, so it's gonna.
Oh well, that didn't work out. Well,
yeah.
If you're this far, we'll see you next week.
Peace.